So a commonly criticized part of Star Wars Return of the Jedi is Luke's plan to save Han at the beginning. Basically, that Luke's plan is filled with plot holes and seemed to revolve around convenience rather than sensible reasoning. I did agree with the sentiment a while back, but after revisiting this segment with a fresh set of eyes, this is actually fairly easy to explain. I wanted to look for a video that articulated what the criticism would be, and I think Cosmonaut Variety Hour's review of Return of the Jedi seems to include the major criticisms. I won't be responding to all of it, that's something that League Entertainment will be doing, who I discussed this part of the movie with, so you can check that out when it releases. Just as a reminder, please remain respectful to the people that I respond to and keep your disagreements civil. With that said, let's take a look at the criticism.
Now my biggest issues that I have with this movie happen in the very first act. Han's rescue at Jabba's palace. Here's the problem I have with this whole opening arc. Other than it being really unexciting for some reason, Luke's plan is so convoluted and it relies on way too much stuff happening. His plan had absolutely no right actually working. Now, if you guys don't remember, here's exactly what happens. First, he sends R2-D2 and C-3PO to Jabba with a recording of him asking for an opportunity to bargain for Han's life. As an offer of goodwill, he apparently is giving R2-D2 and C-3PO to Jabba. Jabba decides, yeah, no, fuck that, and he keeps the droids anyway. Luke then sends Leia, disguised as a bounty hunter, to turn in Chewbacca as a bounty. Then she threatens him with this bomb so that he gives her more money for the bounty. Why? I don't know. I'll get to this later. Anyway, then she stays overnight so that she can thaw Han out of the carbonite, but then she gets captured herself. So now everyone in Luke's crew is captured. So Luke goes to the palace himself, steals a gun, and tries to shoot Jabba in the fucking face.
You're missing an important piece of context. He didn't just go there to shoot at Jabba, he went there to negotiate once again to meet a peaceful resolution to this.
You can either profit by this or be destroyed. It's your choice, but I warn you not to underestimate my power.
After it was made clear that Jabba wouldn't budge, then he went for the blaster. I mean, what was he supposed to do in this situation? He offered a bargain, then he was met with violence. So, of course Luke is going to rely on a defensive measure.
Then he falls down a trapdoor, fights a meatball monster. I'm not even going to talk about this because the Rancor fight is actually the only exciting thing that happens in the sequence, so we're just going to leave that alone. But now Luke is captured as well, so Jabba decides to kill them all by throwing them into the Sarlacc pit. Alright, so first of all, why did he give C-3PO to Jabba too?
Because he's an interpreter, he can explain what R2-D2 is there for.
Mishka Jabba the Hutt, we bring a message to your master, Jabba the Hutt, and a gift.
C-3PO doesn't even know the plan. Why wouldn't he at least tell him the plan if he's supposed to be a part of it? Wouldn't it risk your plan going horribly wrong by not telling one of your friends about it?
Actually, telling C-3PO the full plan can create more issues. If Luke tells him everything, then he could potentially spill crucial information, since 3PO is easy to intimidate. Someone who is easy to scare is more likely to spill information when threatened.
Surrender is a perfectly acceptable alternative in extreme circumstances. The Empire may be gracious enough.
Luke only told what 3PO needed to know in order to facilitate the plan.
It should also be noted that 3PO is fitted with the restraining bolt, which means that if Luke let him in on the plan and needed him to do something really important, he wouldn't have been able to.
So then why are you saying he should have told him about the plan? Also, the restraining bolt doesn't prevent 3PO from taking important steps in the plan. He's only there to translate for R2 and contribute to Luke showing his sign of good faith to Jabba.
Restraining bolts make it so that droids can't disobey orders. Yeah, you can check the facts on Wikipedia, or you could just watch A New Hope, where they're used for the first time. Also, what if they put a bolt on R2? Then I guess he wouldn't have been able to give you your fucking lightsaber.
If R2 had a restraining bolt, Luke could always use the Force to remove it if that was an issue for him. Plus, Luke isn't defenseless without a lightsaber. He can still use the Force to disarm enemies, or take their weapons to use himself.
Wait a minute. Why don't they put a bolt on R2? They explicitly don't do it, for no reason.
They don't need to use one on R2, and it would be counterproductive since R2 needs to carry out various functions as we see on the ship. R2 requires a degree of independence to carry out these tasks. Plus, R2 has gotten Luke to remove the restraining bolt on him in A New Hope by claiming he can't play the rest of the message unless the bolt is removed.
He says the restraining bolt has short-circuited his recording system. He suggests that if you remove the bolt, he might be able to play back the entire recording.
What's stopping R2 from claiming he can't perform as many tasks as Jabba is asking for if there is a bolt on him?
Secondly, what was Leia's plan with the thermal detonator? Jabba isn't stupid. They say multiple times that he is a very cunning individual. Mind tricks don't even work on the guy. So what if he was like, okay, just use the fucking grenade, you idiot. you'll kill everybody, and then you're not gonna get paid. You fucking moron.
Why would Jabba say that if his goal is to obtain Chewbacca? He has to negotiate a price, and the bomb prevents Jabba from forcibly taking Chewbacca away because this would get everyone killed. It doesn't matter if the bounty hunter dies too, because this still ruins Jabba's goals.
It's not like the detonator is even used again in the movie. It's not like a Chekhov's gun or anything. It's just forgotten about. The grenade's gone. Don't worry about it.
Why would they need to use it again? Where would they have used it once the sale was successful?
Why does she even need more money from Jabba? This serves no purpose. I don't understand why this is here.
It's to keep up appearances. Leia wants to make it clear that she will be in control and isn't afraid of Jabba. Settling for less and being a pushover would defeat this image she's creating for herself and would make this suspicious of being inauthentic.
Thirdly, does this whole plan hinge on the idea that these events will happen exactly in the sequence that they occur? Can Luke see the fucking future?
No, but Luke is able to plan around the most likely outcomes of these decisions based on the intel they've gathered.
The way that Luke is nodding at everybody in this scene, it makes me think that this is exactly what he wanted to happen.
Or he's signaling the fact that he's about to enact his plan to retaliate.
How the fuck could he have known that Jabba would capture them all, keep them alive, drive them out to the desert with all of his friends on the sand skiff, and feed them to a giant monster in the sand? Who the fuck can predict all of that?
If Luke has a spy in Jabba's palace, then he can make reasonable predictions based on private information. If Han's execution is being planned, then it's possible that the way he'll be executed was also stated within Lando's presence, which can be told to Luke before he arrives the next day.
You must be really good at chess, Luke. Like, what if Jabba just killed him in a way that doesn't allow you to have an open brawl with everybody?
Then Luke would have acted differently, likely by taking more drastic measures when entering Jabba's palace. But Jabba would act this way because he's known to be very prideful and arrogant, especially when he perceives himself as the winner. He also tends to torture his enemies rather than killing them off immediately. Luke is using Jabba's arrogance against him, which he is known to play against his opposition.
Your overconfidence is your weakness.
What if he just tortured them?
Yeah, that's what bringing them to the Sarlacc pit does, which Luke would know they would do since Lando was giving him secret intel.
What if he decided not to bring R2 on the sand skiff?
That's unlikely given how useful of a droid he'd be.
What if somebody died?
You can make this argument for any plan ever. What if somebody died when trying to save Leia in A New Hope? What if somebody died when Luke tried to save his friends in The Empire Strikes Back? That doesn't mean they shouldn't attempt a plan. I mean, isn't this the argument that Han Solo makes in A New Hope, where it's presented as a bad thing that Han is looking at the situation this way?
I'm afraid she's scheduled to be terminated.
I'm not going anywhere.
But they're gonna kill her!
Better her than me.
Also, was Luke's endgame just to start fighting everybody? He doesn't even go for Jabba himself. What if Leia was incapable of overpowering this hulking monster?
Okay, so Jabba is fat, out of shape, and not a good fighter. The same can't be said for Leia. So, of course she's going to win this fight.
You had a lot of faith in your unarmed, naked sister. Leia has proven before that, yeah, she's pretty badass. But what if her fight had been any more difficult? She kills him in a room full of his friends and colleagues, and no one tries to stop her.
She doesn't go for the attack until Jabba's forces are distracted. Do any of these people look armed at all? They seem more like they're guests rather than guards, so why assume it's their job to respond to these threats versus the guards who look like they're in combat gear?
Here's the thing, if Luke was just planning on a full frontal assault, why not just whip out the fucking lightsaber right from the very beginning in the palace?
Because he wanted a non-violent result. If there's a chance at resolving this dispute peacefully, why not try? The Jedi don't seek to attack, they seek to defend.
A Jedi uses the Force for knowledge and defense, never for attack.
Like, don't send anybody else in, just fight everybody on your own, because obviously you can handle them all.
So there's another issue with this point. Not everybody working for Jabba is bad. Some people can be captured, enslaved, or manipulated into working for him. If he just went for an immediate attack, this could hurt innocent people, so that's why he tries the more peaceful or quieter measures at first.
Now don't say, oh, well, Luke wouldn't do that because it's not the Jedi way. He's murdering these people!
This is after he made several attempts to bargain with Jabba, so these combat encounters are a last resort to defend himself and others. If anything, this proves that he's looking to avoid conflict rather than attacking immediately. There's a difference between attacking unarmed and surrendering opponents versus using lethal attacks in battle for the sole purpose of defending yourself or others. With all of this in mind, I think Luke's plan actually makes complete sense when you really think about it a little more. He wants to avoid violent outcomes, so his first resort is to bargain. When this is ineffective, he tries relying on a more stealthy approach to avoid needless harm to innocents. He makes final bargains to see if Jabba will break, and only engages in violence if absolutely necessary, which I think is completely reasonable and consistent for his character. That's all I've got for now. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Subscribe if you want more of these videos, and feel free to tell me what I should discuss next. I'll see you all later. Goodbye.